Hey guys, my name is Suzanne Light, and I'm coming to you today as part of a collaboration, Women to Women Collaborations Part 1. I had the honor of being asked to do this by Miss Deena Rose, whose YouTube name is DeeVine DeeZine, and she is a great Christian lady that I really enjoy watching, and she thought it would be a good idea if several of us women throughout the YouTube community answered some questions that may often concern other ladies, young ladies, middle-aged ladies, whatever, things that many of us go through in life. So I'm honored to be a part of this collab. I wish you could smell this sweet Carolina jasmine right here that's in full bloom, because it smells heavenly. So I thought I would come out here while I still had some daylight and film it out here. The first question is, have you ever struggled with self-esteem issues or loving yourself for who you are? If so, when did the struggle begin for you? I think that a woman that lives on this earth has suffered at some point in her life with self-esteem, and I think many times that it can happen periodically through times in your life. I don't think being a teenager like I was back in the early 70s, late 60s or early 70s, is as difficult as being a teenager nowadays. I just think with social media, there's so much added. There was just a lot of things we did not know because we didn't have exposure to it. And I think the self-esteem identity problem with our bodies was always there, but it was not emphasized as much because it was limited in the 60s and the 70s when I grew up. It was limited to what you could see on television or in a magazine. So yes, I did struggle with it. I remember from the 6th grade to the 7th grade, I got my full height of 5'8". I towered over all of the guys. And my daughter is 5'2" now, and she just told me the other day, I'd love to be 5'8". And I said, well, it really limits who you date in high school if you're 5'8". And she said, I don't care. So, even though I went through some really hard times in my family, some really difficult times during my high school years, somehow I still had a basis, and I think being raised in the church caused this, but I had a basis for who I really was. I did struggle with my body image because a lot of my friends were smaller built, and I think I struggled with that. But then there would also be times that I would be very confident who I was. So it's not like something that I stayed in. There was also a period in my life where I went through infidelity after being married 18 years. And so I struggled with who I was. My self-esteem was greatly crushed during that time. And I think that's pretty normal for any woman that ever goes through infidelity in her marriage. So, yes, off and on. And even though I am overweight right now, I'm actively trying to lose weight, and I've lost 17 pounds. I think that we have a problem, that women typically have problems with their body image, which can affect their self-esteem throughout their life. But I think, that self-esteem really starts here, and then it transposes to here, and then eventually what's in here many times can help you. And I'm a very spiritual person, and I have God living in my heart, and so many times, even though I may not look like I want to, sound like I want to, or even do the things I want to, I have a peace in knowing that He's in control of my life. He's in control of my destiny and my future, and that greatly affects your self-esteem. Question 2, do you remember a specific event or a specific person that triggered the esteem issues, or was your lack of confidence the normal struggle all kids go through when they hit puberty? Yes, just like I just got through saying, when I did hit puberty, I shot up like a weed so quick. I went straight from whatever I was to 5'8", and I can remember being 5'8" in the 7th grade was very hard because the guys were still 4'11". So that was kind of hard. And things were just so different back then. I definitely lacked confidence. My best friend was a cheerleader, and I was not, and I think she had confidence abounds. But I had a different kind of confidence. I had a confidence just in kind of knowing who I was from an early age. Like I said, I've struggled with it off and on throughout my lifetime. There wasn't a specific event. Now, puberty, yes, did trigger some self-esteem issues, but there wasn't a specific person other than what I just said, my ex-husband, having an affair, and it was a very difficult experience. So he would be a person, or should I say the situation, was something that really triggered self-esteem issues. I don't have them anymore. I think that a woman, my daughter is 35, and she's experienced this, that when a woman reaches age 30, there's a new level of confidence. The 20s were hard for me. 20s, I just really didn't know what I wanted. I married young. 20s were not my favorite time. 30s were better, but I went through a divorce when I was 40. 40s were better as far as knowing who I was and believing in myself, and 50 is even better. So I think it gets better with age. I think your relationship with the Lord, having that peace and that assurance that He is in control of your destiny, no matter. And listen, when I say that, and I've been through some very, very, very hard times in my life. I lost my dad to murder when I was 27. I went through a divorce when I was 40. And I lost my only sister to suicide 5 years ago. And so when I say the Lord has brought me through, He's brought me through. It's not been easy times, but just the assurance that I'm standing on a rock means everything to me, because I literally know what it means for the ground around me to feel like sinking sand. So when I speak from experience. We want to look at people sometimes and think, oh, they've got it all together. They are so sharp. They have all the answers. They're strong, when we don't know what they've been through and how hard they've had to work to get there. So there have been, issues throughout my life that has triggered self-esteem, and just, and you can even put with that depression when you go through situations. But my basis, coming back full circle again to what I said, my basis for all of it and for me being the woman that I am today is my relationship with God. 3, did you ever get called names that exasperated your feelings of insecurity? Did you encounter bullies? If so, how did you cope with it? In a positive way or a negative way? If I got called names, I don't remember it. The taunting of boys and girls, sometimes I probably was called fat somewhere along the way. But I went to a small school, and a lot of us went from the 1st through the 12th grade together. And so I had a very tight-knit group of friends. There were 6 of us that went all the way, girlfriends that went all the way through to school together. When we got to high school, different ones joined in. So I never encountered a bully in school. Now, working, I actually had a boss one time that was a bully. She purely hated me. I think it was spiritual warfare. You may understand that and you may not. But she literally bullied me to the point that I was ready to file a harassment suit against her. But I got other Christian women to start praying with me about it. And when we would be in meetings, it was very obvious that sometimes that she picked on me when she didn't pick on anybody else. And so I encountered bullying, I guess, at an adult age. But we kept praying. And before we would go into a meeting, we would pray together. And I would say, no weapon formed against me is going to prosper. And we agreed upon that together. And she eventually got sick and resigned. It was so bad that everybody that was a director, like I was, knew what was going on. It was very obvious what was going on. So it wasn't. So how did I cope with it? I coped with it with prayer. Even to a young person, there is power in prayer. There's power in knowing that there is a God who cares. There's power in knowing that the very one who created you and formed you and knew you personally and intimately when you were in your mother's womb. There's power in being able to go to our source, our creator, and pray about things as a young person or as an adult. So I believe that typically growing up, I'm sure there was a little bit of name calling. I don't really remember it. But in my adult situation of being bullied at work, I think I handled it in the most positive way that I could, and that was by joining together with other prayer warriors and praying against it. You know, when we hear the term bullying, we think automatically of young people, but it's possible on the job site or in other relationships to be bullied. And I think that prayer, standing on the scriptures and knowing that you're a child of God and that you don't have to be bullied. It could even be in a marriage. That God did not create us to be bullied, but there are the right ways and the wrong ways to handling it. My grandchildren will know me. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and the third little boy on the way, so I'm fixing to have 3 grandsons. They will know that they can call their gangan. It's what they call me. They will know that they can call me anytime, day or night, to pray with them. They know that Gangan believes in praying. We pray a lot about stuff. So I'm trying to instill in them right now the power of prayer. And with self-esteem issues, with bullying, with anything that goes on like that, I believe our source of strength is in our prayer life with God. I hope I've answered these questions. I'm really curious to see how everybody else answers them. I will be watching everybody else's, and I will list down below all the people that are collaborating with us. And once again, I want to thank Miss Deena Rose for giving me the opportunity. I hope that something that I've said has helped you. I do have a channel, Suzanne Light, that I do Bible teaching, and I try to do positive messages that will strengthen, especially women. I do have some men that follow me on there too, but I feel like that, you know, I have a ministry with women. I've overcome a lot, and the Bible says that we're overcomers by the word of our testimony. And so I like to let people know. I also teach a Bible study on Tuesday night here at my home for young ladies in their 20s and 30s, married, single, or divorced. And so I know that God is building up a kingdom of young women. And so I'm very interested, and I believe there's power in women helping women. So feel free to reach out to me. My email address will be on here. I also have a Facebook page for my YouTube subscribers called Let Your Light Shine, and I'll also post the link on that. So I'm excited to see everybody else's collaboration and hear them share. And until next time, remember that God said, I came to give you life and to give it to you more abundantly. Y'all have a blessed day, and thanks so much for letting me share with you. Bye-bye.